Let's talk top 10 urban fantasy series, baby! What's up, beasties? It's Triple B, your friendly neighborhood bearded book beast. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm pumped. I'm excited. Gonna talk about one of my favorite genres in fantasy, one that I used to be in love with and read so much of, and I haven't for a long time and need to get back to it and find some new ones. I'm sure there's a lot of awesome new ones. But today what we're going to do is talk about my top 10 urban fantasy series of all time. One book per series, one book per good gravy. One book per author. The usual rules with my lists. And yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to revisit some of these series I haven't read for a long time. Some of them I still need to finish, even though I've read multiple books in them. More have come out. And I'm pumped to get talking about these and then to see what you guys tell me in the comments, what new ones are out there. And I'm also excited. I'm really getting into indie fantasy. I'm pumped to see that there's so many urban indie fantasy books out there that I want to check out. I'm pumped. I'm excited. And I'm even wearing my Supernatural Winchester Brothers hunting service, monster hunting service shirt, which is one of my favorite urban fantasy shows. It's awesome. If you haven't watched it, you should. And there's actually a book in here. The series reminds me of it a little bit, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. In the meantime, if you haven't yet, pause the video, grab yourself a snack, maybe a thirst-quenching refreshment, such as this Dr. Pear, I cannot talk today, Dr. Pepper Cherry, Zero Sugar. Ooh, hear that fizz? Cheers. Oh, yeah. Sit back, relax, and enjoy my top 10 urban fantasy series, in my opinion, that I've read of all time. First up, we have an honorable mention, just one, and it's only because it's a great series, but I've talked about it before. I talked about it with Hidden Gems. I talked about it as a superhero series. But technically, I believe it falls under urban fantasy. And that is Ghost of Manhattan by George Mann. Superhero, steampunk, fighting crime, fantasy, fantastical, alternate timeline. Very cool. Honorable mention. I've talked about it before. The rest of these, I mean, a couple I have, but most of them I haven't. But since this is in my superhero list, we're not going to put it in my urban fantasy list. George Mann, honorable mention. Awesome book. You should check it out. Sorry about that. All right, now here we go. Number 10. This is Dead Man's Hand, The Unorthodox Chronicles by James J. Butcher. Jim Butcher's son. You may know Jim Butcher. He writes another series that might be on this list. Spoiler, I know. But this is the Why can't I speak? Unorthodox Chronicles. Focuses on the main character, Grimsby. What's his last name? Grimsby? Gosh. Grimshaw. Griswold Grimsby. He is a witch. And it says a lot of humor in it. It was a lot of fun. I haven't read the second one. I do have it. It's called Long Past Dues. I'm going to read that this fall as we get into spooky season. I'm excited to read that because I did really enjoy this. It was very funny, very comical. The main character is kind of a weenie sometimes, almost a little too much at times. But and he's partnered up with a crotchety old veteran monster hunter, and they had an awesome dynamic in it, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it a lot, and I'm excited to see where the series goes from here and to see James J. Butcher grow as an author, because I think this was a lot of fun and very good, and I really enjoyed it. And look at that cover. Beautiful covers. Love it. Love it. Number 10. Unorthodox Chronicles, James J. Butcher. Yes. Number 9, The Iron Druid Chronicles by Kevin Hearn. This focuses on Atticus O'Sullivan. He is a druid, and he's living in Arizona. He has a bookshop. Doesn't he have a... Oh, yes, he has a dog, an Irish Wolfhound. He shifts and hunts with it. And it's a cool urban fantasy. I read the first 3 books so long ago, and I liked them. And I just never continued the series because I got a little off track with it and got behind. And then so many people talk about how the ending doesn't land good, and I've always just been scared to finish it up. But I do want to. It's actually got new covers and stuff now that look a little more modern, don't have the person on them. But I kind of like these. It's like a comfort to me, these older covers. So I would like to get all of this series and read it someday. But I did really like the first 3 or 2, whichever ones I read. But I did like the character a lot, and I would like to finish it someday. Number 9, Iron Druid Chronicles. Number 8. Here we go. This is the one that makes me think of Supernatural. This is book 2. It's Moonshine. What is this series called? Good Gravy. Nightlife was the first book. I really enjoyed it. I have not read the second book yet. I don't know if this... I'm sure this series has a name. Maybe it's called Nightlife. But anyways, focuses on 2 brothers, Cal and Nico. That's them on the front. And they hunt monsters. 2 brothers fighting monsters. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I dig it. It's a very fun series. The brothers have a great relationship, and it's got a lot of humor, a lot of action. It's very cool, and I definitely want to get back into this. I was looking through my shelf, trying to remember which urban fantasies I liked, and I saw this. I'm like, oh, dude, I love Nightlife. I never read Moonshine. It's cool. And it's a little terrifying. Like this book starts off. I did read some of it. I remember. It starts off when they're going after a clown that eats children. A carnivorous clown, cannibalistic clown that steals and eats children. Terrifying. That's the first monster they're going after. Awesome stuff. Nightlife by Rob Thurman. You should check it out, especially if you like Supernatural. Next up, number 7, Monster Hunter International by Larry Correia. I read the first book, this one, and it was a lot of fun. I loved it. Just really snarky. It's kind of like the main character, what's his name? Owen Pitt. It's kind of like if Peter Parker was a monster hunter in a more adult graphic series. Just very snarky and makes a lot of jokes, but very cool, very fun. He gets, it starts off right away. He gets attacked by his boss, who's a werewolf, and he ends up surviving and killing the werewolf boss. That happens like right away, so that's not a big spoiler. But then he gets pulled in by Monster Hunter International because they find him and they're like, man, this guy survived. And it goes off from there, and he gets into all sorts of shenanigans. It is awesome. Monster Hunter International. And Monster Hunter International. Larry Correia. Number 7. Yes. Number 6 is Patient Zero, Joel Ledger, Jonathan Mayberry. This is an author and series I've always wanted to check out, whether it be his Rotten Ruin stuff, and then when I saw him coming out with The Cake and the Dam, like, I have all of his books. Well, I don't have the Rotten Ruin books. I have all of the Joe Ledger books, and I have no. That's also a lie. Okay, I have the first 3 Joe Ledger books and a short story collection. I also have the Cake and the Dam books and Necrotech. But then I had them all. I haven't read them. But then good old John at Talking Story talked about all the Joe Ledger stuff he's read, and he makes things sound so awesome. And he is usually correct. Actually, he has always been correct from what I've read that he's recommended. And this was no exception. I read the first one, and some of the short stories. Loved it. Definitely going to be continuing. Joe Ledger is awesome. He's kind of like Jack Reacher, just bad arse in an urban fantasy setting. More black ops, military type. He's been through some trauma and some heartache, and it kind of dives into that some. And it's very good. It's very, very good. This is definitely a series you should read if you've been thinking about it. It is a lot of fun. A lot of supernatural, monster, world threat stuff. And he takes them out. It's awesome. Fun. Good stuff. Joe Ledger, number 6. We're in the top 5. Number 5 is boom, Sandman Slim, my man, by Richard Kadrey. Love his books. I've read some of his other stuff, and it's also good. He's a great writer. But Sandman Slim, I love these new covers. When I actually read this a long time ago, it had the original cover, and it wasn't quite as cool. Ooh, that reminds me. Oh, one I should have put on here. I don't have the books. I only read the first book. We'll say this is an honorable mention, or a 10B, would be Felix Castor series. He is an exorcist. It's set in like England, London, I think, maybe. I'm not sure. But that is a cool series, and I do want to finish that one eventually. I only read the first book way back in the day, but it was really good. Not sure why. I think the cover of Sandman Slim, the original one, reminds me of the first cover of Devil You Know, I think, from Felix Castor. I got to get those books because that was a fun one. Anyway, back to this. This is focuses on James Stark, and he is a demon. He got out of hell. Is he a hitman? Oh yeah. So he was a hitman for hell. He kind of has gotten his escape, and it's all about the shenanigans that he goes through, trying to leave hell behind. But of course, they're not going to let that happen. So it's very good. It's very cool. And it's very funny. It's good. You should check it out. It's a lot of fun. And this is one that I need to read more of. I've only read the first one. I loved it. I don't know why I never read any more. Definitely need to do more. I mean, just reading the blurb, the very start of the blurb says, "Resurrection sucks. Saving the world is worse." But yeah, it's cool. And these covers are awesome. Look like old horror movie posters. Very cool. Sandman Slim, number 5. Number 4. We talked about demons. Now we're going to talk about angels. And that is the Remy Chandler series by Thomas Nagowski. I love this. I think this is the book I haven't read yet. I think the series has like 6 or 7 books. And I think I read the first 3 or 4. But yeah, it is really cool. He's an angel. He fell in love with a human, and he decided to stay on Earth and not and kind of give up his place in heaven to be with her and live a life with her. But of course, he's immortal, so he stayed the same age. She grew old, and this all happens early on in the first book. And he is dealing with a lot of sadness, watching the love of his life, his soulmate, waste away, and he goes to visit her, and people think he's her grandson because he's so much younger looking. And yeah, he has to deal with that. And then, of course, some shenanigans happen with Armageddon and demons and angels, and he ends up being caught in the middle. But he's a private investigator, a PI. And his cases he takes keep making him end up in the middle of this bigger war going on, and he has to start calling up some old acquaintances. I won't call them friends, but it's really good. He's got a black lab, which I have a chocolate. Oh, is it black lab or chocolate lab? I don't remember. I have a chocolate lab though, so I always like that. But this is another series I need to finish because I love the first 3 books. I think this is the 4th one. Let me see. Let me see if I'm right. Gosh, it's probably been like 8 years since I read these. I'd have to look through them, get a little refresher. The first book is Kiss Before the Apocalypse, I think, is the first one. And this is the fourth one, yeah. So I read the first three, and they are excellent, and they're not super long. A lot of fun. He's a great writer. He also wrote a really cool superhero book I should have put in my thing. It was called, The Raptor or something. It's about a sidekick with, it was a very Batman and Robin-ish, and the main character, the main superhero was Raptor, and he was kind of going off his rocker and losing it and a little too aggressive. Kind of reminded me of like Batman Nightfall, when Bane broke Batman's neck, and the guy who was always Azrael took over, and he went a little crazy and was a little too aggressive. That's kind of what that reminded me of. But anyway, Thomas Nagowski is a cool writer. I just got that Grim Death and Bill the Executioner by him too. But this is an awesome series. Remy Chandler, a lot of fun. Number 4, loved it. Gonna finish it. You should read it too. Number 3 is Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. This is, I think, book 6. I gotta finish this series too. So many of these I loved, and I've never finished. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Wait. Yeah, 6. But it focuses on our main character, Odd Thomas. He's a little odd, but he's just a super sweet, wholesome, nice guy. He wants to just be a fry cook. It starts off, he wants to just settle down and marry the love of his life. Her name is Stormy. And they have a great relationship. He's trying to just live his life. But the problem is he's a medium. He can see dead people. They can't talk to him, but they show up and they kind of hound him. And he has to try to help them solve whatever's keeping them stay here so they can move to the other side. So that's part of his thing, is helping spirits move on. But he can also see a lot of evil spirits and demons and stuff when there's something bad about to happen. And he's seeing them in his town in the first book, so he knows something catastrophic is coming to happen, and he has to try to stop it before it's too late. And it is just such a great series, so good. I need to finish it. One of my favorite series of all time, not just urban fantasy. And it is so good. Odd Thomas is such a sweet, likable, lovable character. He doesn't like to use a gun, so when he goes up against some really evil people and things, supernatural things, he has to use his smarts and his big heart to get out of things, and it's just... And he always makes delicious things and describes them, and it makes me hungry. He makes some good cookies, apparently. Anyway, it's awesome. You should definitely read it. Odd Thomas. Top 2. All right, my top 2 is tough. Think of this as more of a 1A, 1B, because I love them both, and I'll talk about why. But I'm a man of my word. This is a top 10. There will be a ranking. So number 2, Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Love Harry Dresden. He is a wizard, PI, private investigator in Chicago. He goes up against supernatural foes. He tries to help everyone. This series means a lot to me. I started reading them early on, read them most of my adult life, and I've just seen Harry grow. I've seen the cast of characters grow and mature as I myself have grown and matured, and it is just an awesome series. I really love it, and I can't wait for the next one to see where the story goes next. And I think that for a series that has so much snarky humor, can be so deep and emotional and get you in the feels. And I also think that Jim Butcher does an amazing job with character work, especially for a book that is first person, single POV, no multiple POVs, but all the supporting cast feels like they have their own POV. It feels like you know them, they feel alive, and you love them, and you root for them, and you still follow their stories. There are, in some of the short stories, some of them do get POV, which is pretty cool. But anyway, it's awesome. It's a great series. It does monsters right, vampires, werewolves, all the things. They're terrifying, and Harry is just a awesome main character. Sometimes he does dumb things, sometimes he says dumb things, but you know, it's real. He screws up sometimes, and then he's got to find a way to get through it, and sometimes his friends have to help him. But it is fantastic urban fantasy series. Very, 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 very good. There's a reason so many people talk about it. I love it. It's awesome. Number 2. So you're wondering, what could number 1 be if you love that one that much? Well, some of you might know. It is The Tomb, Repairman Jack, F. Paul Wilson. I love Repairman Jack. I found it before I found Dresden Files, and I started it early on. I've been reading it my entire adult life. Eventually, I'm going to do a deep dive into why you should read Repairman Jack, where you should start, to explain all the different things. There's short stories, there's prequel novels from when he was a child, there's prequel novels from when he was first in New York City in his early 20s, before things got all supernatural and crazy. But basically, Repairman Jack is a repairman. He fixes problems for other people that they cannot fix themselves, that the police cannot fix. He solves problems for others, and he lives off the grid. Nobody knows who he is. He makes sure he maintains a regular Joe look, but he's just cool. He's BA, and all the cases he takes on to help people always end up having a supernatural, Lovecraftian, horror-ish twist, and he gets pulled into this age-old war between these entities and evil and not so much good, but indifferent. And Earth is kind of the prize, and the indifferent one is kind of like, meh, we kind of don't care anymore. So it's Jack finds himself in the middle of all of this, and yeah, it's just cool. It's really cool. I probably said too much, so I'll take that part out. But yeah, so he finds himself in the middle of this good versus evil thing, and it's awesome. It's got found family and awesome cast of characters, just like Dresden Files. And this is third person, but you don't really leave Jack too much. You do a little bit with whoever he's helping. You kind of follow them a little bit, but for the most part, you're with Jack. But there is some found family. There's some awesome characters and friends that support him, and yeah, just what a ride, what a journey. A lot of books in this series. Look for that deep dive into Repairman Jack down the road. But number 1 favorite urban fantasy series, Repairman Jack. It's awesome. You should definitely read it. The Tomb is the first one. That's all I got for you guys. That was my top 10 urban fantasy series of all time, in my opinion, that I've read. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Please, if you haven't yet, like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and it also lets you know when I have a new video come out, so you can hang out with me again and have some fun. And also, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the list. Let me know about some urban fantasy that you love that I didn't mention. Also, let me know if there's any really cool self-pub, indie pub urban fantasy that I should check out, because I'm excited to see what's out there. I do have a lot of other ones that I just haven't read yet, so I do need to check those out. But I'm pumped to get back into some urban fantasy, start sprinkling some in. You know, there's so much I want to read, and it gets overwhelming sometimes, but I just gotta have fun and love reading, and don't put pressure on myself to read this or read that. Just let it flow, baby. So leave me a comment. Let me know about all that, or just say hi, because you know I love that too, to see how you're doing. So that's all I got for you. Until I see you in the next one, beasties, devour those TBRs, be brave, be beautiful to one another, and be beastly. We'll see ya.